I suppose every story begins with the flicker of light, doesn't it? Mine began with the brightest light of all, the perfect life I thought I had built. My name is Amelia, and for 10 years, my world was synonymous with Michael. Misha. My Misha. He was the classic success story. Sharp suit, sharper mind. The kind of charisma that made everyone in the room lean in a little closer. He was the CEO of his own tech firm, and I, his wife, was the quiet architect of his home life, the anchor that kept his ambitious ship steady. And then there was Sara. She was his new college intern, fresh out of business school, all wide, ambitious eyes and a shy yet magnetic smile. I remember the first time he mentioned her. "She's brilliant, Amy," he'd said, scrolling through emails on his iPad late one evening. "A true prodigy. I feel like I'm teaching her everything, but she's teaching me how to look at the business through a new lens." It started subtly. The late nights became the norm. He always had a perfect, logical explanation, a new venture capital push, a crucial deadline, a project Sara was specifically assigned to manage. I believed him because I trusted him. Trust was the bedrock of our marriage. It was the foundation I thought could withstand any storm. The air around him changed. It wasn't just the smell of ozone and coffee. It was something lighter, almost floral. He started dressing differently. Not better, but fresher. He swapped his standard navy tie for a subtle lavender one. He started humming old, silly songs in the shower, songs I hadn't heard since our dating days. He had a hidden pocket of joy, and it wasn't one I was sharing. One Friday, he canceled our customary dinner date, the no-work zone night, citing a critical server crash. I convinced myself it was true. But later that night, as I lay awake, a text notification briefly illuminated his phone screen on the bedside table. I shouldn't have looked. I did. It was from Sara. Just 4 words. The servers were delicious. My heart didn't just break, it shattered into shards that immediately turned into weapons. The deception wasn't the worst part. It was the mockery of my trust. He had stolen my ritual, my belief in our safety, and replaced it with a cheap, shared joke. Once the truth was a known poison, I couldn't stop the mental reconstruction. I became a detective in my own tragedy. I found the receipts, the reserved tables, the little notes slipped into his desk jacket. I saw their stolen moments through the cold, stark lens of proof. The lakeside date. He told me he was at a conference in the city. The GPS on his company car, which I accidentally checked, or maybe subconsciously on purpose, showed him 200 miles away at a small, beautiful lake house resort he'd once promised to take me to. I could almost hear the stolen words he spoke to her there. He pulls her close, the scent of the pine trees filling the evening air. "Sara, look at the water. It's like liquid moonlight. This is what you do to my life. You illuminate everything I thought was dull." She leans into his chest, her hand resting over his heart. "Misha, you're taking a huge risk, but when I'm with you, I feel like the risk is the only thing that makes me feel truly alive." The coffee shop ritual. They had a secret cafe, a tiny place near her apartment, far from his office, a place where they could pretend they were just 2 ordinary people in love. I saw a picture on his cloud storage, quickly deleted but cached. Sara laughing, holding a cup, and his reflection clearly visible in the dark glass behind her, his eyes full of a tenderness he had forgotten how to give me. "What are you thinking about?" she asks, wiping a smudge of foam from his lip with her thumb. He smiles, a slow, lazy, genuine smile that punches me in the gut even now. "I'm thinking," he says, "about how unfair this is. How I wish I could buy you flowers every day, hold your hand in the street, scream your name from the rooftops." She leans across the table, her voice a low, husky promise. "We have our own rooftops, Misha, our secret ones, and they're so much sweeter." These were not just dates. They were the creation of a whole new universe, built on the stolen time and resources of mind. The intimacy wasn't just physical, it was intellectual, an escapement to a fantasy where Michael was a newly single, passionate man, unburdened with mortgage payments and anniversaries. The confrontation didn't happen in a scream. It happened in a whisper that turned into a roar. I waited for him. He walked in around 11 p.m., smelling faintly of expensive perfume that definitely wasn't mine. He tried to kiss me, a familiar, affectionate peck that felt like a sacrilege. I pulled back. The servers were delicious. Misha, I said, my voice unnervingly calm. He froze. His face went through 5 stages of grief in 2 seconds. Confusion, denial, fear, cold calculation, and finally, a hollow acceptance. Amelia, I can explain. No, I cut him off, finally letting the dam break. My voice rose, shaking the foundations of our expensive, beautiful, fraudulent home. I picked up the crumpled receipt for the lakeside dinner, lobster bisque, 2 glasses of champagne, and threw it at him. I was not at a conference, Amy, he admitted, his eyes fixed on the floor, the CEO's swagger completely gone. I was with Sara. I love her. The sheer audacity of the declaration, delivered with such pitiful honesty, silenced me. Love? I spat the word out like a stone. You don't know what love is. Love is the quiet, everyday choice to show up. Love is not the thrill of running away from your responsibilities. Love is not lying to the person who gave her her youth and her trust. You mistake a fever for a feeling. Michael. The fight was less about yelling and more about tearing down the 10 years of carefully curated history we shared. I accused him of using me as a stepping stone, and he accused me of becoming predictable and boring, the ultimate betrayal. She sees me, he shouted, desperate. She challenges me. You just maintain the status quo. I am not the man I was 10 years ago, Amelia. Neither are you. No, I said, tears finally tracing hot paths down my cheeks. I am not. The woman I was would never have married a man capable of this cowardice. You want Sara? You want the fresh start? Take it. But you will not take my dignity. The divorce was fast and surgically precise. Michael was a businessman, and he treated the dissolution of our marriage like a hostile takeover. He was generous with the settlement, likely fueled by guilt and the need to expedite his freedom. I took the money, kept the lessons, and walked away from the house that now felt like a mausoleum of broken promises. 3 months later, the wedding photos appeared on Sara's carefully public Instagram. They were married in that same lakeside resort. She wore white, of course. Michael looked radiant, younger, holding her hand with the confidence of a man who finally got what he wanted. He had traded security for excitement, stability for adrenaline. I saw the picture and felt an unexpected calm. They looked happy, yes, but happiness built on the ruins of another's trust is never truly solid. I had lost a husband, but I had regained myself. The quiet life I built for him, I now built for me, but with stronger materials, truth and self-respect. Sara was not the reason Michael left. Sara was just the excuse he used to leave the man he had become. And so, to anyone listening to my story, here is the painful, crucial truth I learned. Trust is not a static agreement. It is a daily investment of vulnerability and honesty. It's not enough to simply have trust. You must actively protect it, both yours and your partner's. My mistake was turning Michael into my foundation, rather than seeing him as a partner on shared ground. When he eroded that foundation through deceit, my whole world collapsed. The man who cheats doesn't just betray his spouse, he betrays the solemn promise of their shared reality. And the person who is betrayed must realize that their value was never in the hands of the liar. It was in the strength of their own heart, which, once broken, can be mended into something far more resilient. So, if you are the Misha in this story, understand that the intoxicating high of a secret romance will always be balanced by the devastating low of the damage you inflict. No amount of passion is worth the price of another person's trust. If you are the Amelia, know that the pain is the necessary fire that forges the new you. You deserve a love that doesn't feel like a constant balancing act on the edge of a lie.